Which window tint should you choose when you're selecting a window tint? That's been a struggle that I've always had when I've gone to select a window tint. Which one's going to be the right quality? Which one's going to be the right percentage? Well, I've waited way too long to get window tint put on this 2023 Lexus ES300H, but I finally went ahead and did it. I went ahead and got 20% ceramic tint by Xpel, went with the premium. I got 20% all the way around, and I got 70% on the front windshield. I'm going to show you how it looks and see if this is the right look for you. So this is the look outside of my front windshield. 70% tint with this ceramic tint from Xpel. It's a little cloudy outside today, but still full sun. You can see out the side window. This is the 20%, no visibility issues. Plenty of visibility all throughout the car with this 20% tint front and back. As you can see, the visibility is excellent on the interior of my vehicle with this 20% ceramic tint from Xpel. One question I did have was when the installer installed this tint, there was some residue left afterwards, some streaking, and I wondered, is that going to be there? I could noticeably, visibly see that there was tint on the windows after he tinted it. He said, don't worry, give it a couple weeks. It's going to dry out and it'll disappear. Well, it's been about a week, and indeed it is gone. I can't even really tell that there's tint on this car from the interior. I've gotten used to the darkness and I forget that there's tint on my car. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like on the outside and see if this is a good look for your vehicle. Here is the exterior view of that 20% ceramic tint from Xpel. As you can see, it is quite dark. Now, when I first got this tint put on, I wondered if it was dark enough because depending on what type of situation you're in, it might look lighter or darker depending. You still can see into the interior of the vehicle with this tint. You can see that the front 70% brings about just a little bit of a hue that kind of creates a more dark look throughout the vehicle. But when I do come up to this vehicle and I look through to the other side or through the front windshield, you can see that it is visible on the inside of the vehicle, that you still can see into the vehicle. Now, 20% is pretty much illegal in any state, but you often get away with it. I have gotten pulled over in this car within the first week for this window tint. The officer gave me a warning when he put his meter on the window. He asked me what the percentage was, and I told him 20%. And he put his meter on the window and he said my tint was 22%. So you have to make that call. Are you doing illegal things that you don't want to be pulled over for? Well, then you probably shouldn't get an illegal window tint. But for me, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to pull me over and tell me that I need to replace the window tint, and I felt like that was a risk I was willing to take. So after having this 20% window tint on the sides and the back of my vehicle with the 70% window tint on the front windshield, would I do the same again? My answer is yes, I would. I like the cohesive look that having the 20% on all of the windows, on the sides and the rear, gives a vehicle. I don't feel like it's too dark to draw too much attention to myself from law enforcement. If they are looking for an excuse to pull you over, it could be an excuse for them to pull you over. The officer that pulled me over actually commented, wow, your window tint is a lot lighter than it looked when you drove by. And you're gonna have to make that call on whether you want to have a window tint that is beyond your state's limit. Now, one thing that I considered was maybe I should have gone like a 15% on the rear windows and then 20% on the side windows. That way there's like a step down in darkness, and it might elude any issues I might have. with law enforcement. But you know, like I said, as long as you don't have anything to worry about as doing illegal things in your car, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to pull you over and tell you to change your side window to what's legal, which would be 30% here in Florida. 28's the legal, but you know, they don't make window tint that's 28, so you would go with a 30%. 30% doesn't really give me the type of coverage that I was looking for, but you know, overall I'm very happy with this 20% on the side and back and 70 on the front. It's lowered the temperature inside of the vehicle significantly. I'm less worried about sunburn because this is, you know, the ceramic tint. It's blocking out a lot of those harmful UV rays. Even in the front, you don't think about, maybe the front's not giving me the darkness per se, but it's giving me that protection from the sun. And I would say that that little bit of darkness it does bring, it brings about like a kind of a darker look to the entire vehicle, but without being really noticeable. That cop who pulled me over, he didn't notice that my front window was tinted because it's not really noticeable. But it brings about a kind of just a more stealth look to the entire vehicle. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm happy with the 20%. I would do it again. You can see in this different lighting that it's easier to see in this front window. It kind of just changes with the angle and the lighting. Here's an example of what the 20% tint looks like at night in the Lexus. As you can see, I can still see out of the car. I still have good visibility. You know, it definitely is darkened a little bit. I did notice that once the tint went on, like there was maybe a little bit more glare that wasn't there before. But overall, the 20% tint was not an issue at night. This is what that tint looks like at night. You can see that you can still see in the vehicle. It's not completely blacked out. You can see this white wall of the building behind me. And you can also still see in the vehicle. But as you step back, it definitely darkens out the vehicle. Another view here from a different angle. This is what the visibility looks like at night with that 20% tint. It's not too bad. I don't feel like it hinders me that much with visibility. If I did have like maybe some sight issues, difficulty seeing at night, I could see how that might become a problem. I'll show you what it looks like in the side view and rear view mirrors for some comparison. This is what it looks like in the side view mirror. You can see that I can still see visible behind me. I can still see what's going on outside. This is the rear view mirror. You can still see that I have good visibility. And the passenger side view mirror. Visibility is hindered a little bit, but still acceptable in my opinion.